Okay, my friends, do you remember what we have been learning this week? We have been learning about grams and kilograms. So let's look at where our learning goal is for today. So our learning goal is we're going to compare objects' weight in grams and kilograms. And we're going to identify the differences between grams and kilograms. So that's what we've been working on this whole week, is the weight classification of grams and kilograms. So let's look at our anchor chart. Everybody pull it up on your computer so you can read along. So remember, we have grams. Can someone tell me what type of objects would be weighed in grams? Would it be light or would it be heavy? What do you think? That's right, Blaze. That grams would be light objects, something like a paper clip. See, it's very, very small and it's very light, like I can hold it in my hand. Or maybe a ponytail holder, like what's in my hair right now. And see, it's very light. And see, grams, when you would use grams, it would be something that's very, very light. Something you could just hold in the palm of your hand like I'm doing. So let's see one more. And a pen. A pen would also be weighed in grams because it's very, very light. Okay, let's look at our next one, which is kilograms. So if we determine grams were light objects, then kilograms must be heavy objects. Can anyone think of something at their house they would weigh in kilograms? Yes, Levi, that's right. You could weigh your lawnmower in kilograms because it is very, very heavy. I would not want to go outside and try to pick up a lawnmower. I think I would have a little bit of trouble with that. So we know we weigh kilograms for heavy objects like a big dictionary, maybe something large like a science book, or maybe a jug of milk. So I'm going to show you an example. So I got this jug of milk out of my fridge. This jug of milk is around 1 gallon, which is similar to 1 kilogram. And remember, 1 kilogram is how many pounds? Can anyone remember from this week? That's right, Alexis. It is around 2 pounds. So it's actually 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. Ain't that a lot? And then we look and there is 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Can you believe there's such a difference between grams and kilograms? So we remember from looking right here, this paper clip would be weighed in grams. Did you know that a paper clip only weighs 1 gram? So how many paper clips would we need if we wanted them to weigh 1 kilogram? I want you to think about it for just a second and then raise your hand if you think you know. What do you think, Levi? That's right. You would need 1,000 paper clips to equal 1 kilogram. Because we remember it takes 1,000 grams to equal 1 kilogram. And I love your thinking skills and how you remember that from this week. Alright, so we're going to look at another example I have. So I have 2 bags of flour. I got this one, and I have this one. So let's look at them farther apart. You can see the size difference between these. So I want you to think, which one of these would you weigh in kilograms, and which one would you weigh in grams? See, this one's fairly large, this one's fairly small. So think about it for just a second. Which would you use for kilograms, and which would you use for grams? What do you think, Kylie? I see you're ready to answer. That's right. She said she thought the larger bag would be weighed in kilograms. So why did you think that the larger bag would be weighed in kilograms? What characteristics about this bag helped you determine that answer? I like those thoughts you had. She said that she thought this one would be weighed in kilograms because it's much larger than the other bag. And we know that kilograms are larger than grams when we're weighing. That's a really good answer, and I loved how you remembered that from this week. Alright, so let's look at our anchor chart. I want everybody to pull it up on your computer unless you have it printed out, about how we're going to determine whether we think an item should be weighed in grams or kilograms. So let's look at our first question. The first question we need to ask ourselves, does the item look heavy or does it look light? So let's look. We're going to do this example together and I'm going to help you all practice. So I brought a pack of crackers. So we're going to determine whether we think we should weigh these crackers in grams or whether we should weigh them in kilograms. So let's look. Do I think this pack of crackers looks heavy or do I think it looks light? I could hold it in my hand fairly easy. I think it would be light. So I'm going to follow the light arrow. So the arrow says, does the item look lighter than a gallon of milk? So let's hold them up together. I got a gallon of milk and this crackers. I can easily hold these crackers on my hand. But if I try to hold this gallon of milk on my hand, I'm almost afraid I'll drop it. So I think these crackers would be much lighter than a gallon of milk. And I determined that by holding them in my hands. And I felt that these crackers felt much lighter. They're also much smaller too. So I'm going to follow the yes arrow, 2 grams. So that helps me determine that I think these crackers would be weighed in grams. Alright, so now I'm going to show you all another part that we're going to work on to keep practicing. So I'm going to erase our learning goal on our chart so I can write down grams and kilograms. So we're going to be able to get a little bit active, and I'm going to let you all stand up. So I'm going to write grams on one side and kilograms on the other. And we're going to get different objects, pictures of objects, and we're going to determine whether we think they should be weighed in grams or kilograms. So when I show you an item, if you think it should be weighed in grams, I want you to sit in your seat. But if you think it should be weighed in kilograms, I want you to stand up. So that way we can get moving just a little bit. So our first object is a dollar bill. I'm sure everybody's seen a dollar bill. Maybe you have one in your wallet or your purse, or maybe your parents have some in their wallets or their purses. So we're going to determine if we think this should be weighed in grams or kilograms. So does anyone remember ever holding a dollar bill? Did it feel light or did it feel heavy? So let's remember our chart. Does the item feel light or does it feel heavy? So I think a dollar bill would feel light. So I would follow the light arrow. My next question says, does the item feel as heavy as a gallon of milk? So Levi, what do you think? Do you think this dollar bill would be as heavy as a gallon of milk? No, that's right. This is much, much lighter. And I loved how you used a comparison that the dollar bill is as light as a feather. I love that comparison because both items you could easily hold in the palm of your hand. And I loved how you remembered that. So on our next one, we're going to either stand or we're going to sit. All right, so here's our item. I have a quarter. So if you think it should be weighed in grams, I want you to sit. If you think it should be weighed in kilograms, I want you to stand up. Ooh, everybody got it right. Everybody sat down because we think this would be weighed in grams. So Blaze, what characteristics about this quarter made you determine that answer? Ooh, I like that answer. You said that you thought the quarter was very, very light, much lighter than a gallon of milk. And I love how you went back and you used your chart to help you determine your answer. That's very great with your problem solving skills and that you remembered to go back. All right, let's look at another item. I have a lawnmower. I know we kind of talked about this before earlier in class. So I'm going to look. Do I think this lawnmower would be weighed in grams or do I think it would be weighed in kilograms? So remember, if you think it's kilograms, stand up. If you think it's grams, sit down. Good job. Everybody got it right. Everybody stood up. Fantastic. Give yourself a high five. You are right on it today. So we think the lawnmower would be weighed in kilograms. So why did you determine that? Kylie, what was your answer? Why did you determine this lawnmower would be weighed in kilograms? Good job. I love that. Kylie said she thought that it would be weighed in kilograms because she went back to her chart and it said, does the item look and feel heavier than a gallon of milk? And she determined it was much, much heavier than a gallon of milk. So what we're going to do together is we're going to finish this project. Everybody is going to get an object and it's going to show up on your computer. You're either going to get something maybe like a bicycle or maybe you will get something like an eraser. And we're going to each look at our items and determine whether we think they should be weighed in kilograms and grams. And then we're going to discuss the answers and justify why we chose grams or kilograms for our answer. So everybody get on your computers and make sure it shows up so that way we can do it together. So that would complete the I do portion of the lesson. For the we do part, it would be like what I just discussed. We would continue working on a T-chart, and every child would get an object, kind of like the quarter or the lawnmower, and we would just kind of discuss it together, whether we would classify as grams and kilograms. So for the individualized student information, I would determine that by asking stuff like higher order thinking questions, kind of like what I did before by asking, what characteristics helps you determine that answer. Because I feel like when they're asked questions that make them, use their thinking skills, it helps me kind of see where they're at. Like, are they grasping the concepts, or do they still seem to be struggling? So I feel like when we do the we do portion and I'm able to ask certain questions like that, it'll help me see where they're at. And it'll also help by doing the formative assessment together, because then I can see where each child is at and if they feel more confident in their answers, or if I feel like they may still need a little bit of help. And when it comes to providing feedback, I like to just make sure I give them feedback on all their answers and questions. I want to make them feel positive about it. Even if they don't have it right, I want them to know that I'm glad they tried, and I'm glad that they were using their thinking skills, and that they're trying to build upon it to figure out the right answer. So I always like to make sure I give corrective feedback and positive feedback just to help them work on what they need to continue with our lesson. Thank you.